Hello everyone, my name is Grayson and welcome to a new Let's Play series of The Last Spell. Now The Last Spell is in early access. I have played about 44 hours of the game so far and I absolutely love it. Been meaning to get into this game for YouTube for a long time and I just never pulled the trigger on that until now. There's been a bunch of updates, so I don't know why I'm choosing the worst possible time to do this, but because I understand it the least now than I ever have. But we're going to do it anyway because this game is great. It is a very grim, brutally difficult roguelite tactics game. So you will have a city, so you can see like here this portal in the background. Let me click off of this. I just wanted to show off the little message from the developers that's like, this game's hard but highly replayable and it's in early access. That is true. Very difficult, very replayable. So in the background here we have our little town we're defending. There's a portal here that we're basically, not a portal, it's like a magic spell that they're casting, that they're trying to get rid of magic because magic has run amok on this planet, in this world, and caused the dead to rise and all sorts of other gruesome creatures. So you can see here's our little band of heroes essentially trying to hold out against oh my god, is this person doing CPR? Oh, that is terrifying. Yeah, so these are all like zombies and stuff. You fight tons of basic zombies and then they get more complicated. Big brute guys with like that fly in and flank you. There's runners. There's things that shoot arrows at you. There's like pikemen, and then you get like these even crazier thing, like these big ghost things. There's all sorts of maddening monsters you have to deal with. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go into the campaign. Now, what I have been doing is there was a town here that I was replaying. Basically, you play it over and over and over until you beat it, and then there was access to another one. Now, they have since changed the way it works, so it looks like I have no progress at all, but that's not true, and I'll show you how the metagame works. So let's go in here to Gildenberg. So we're going to go ahead and go on standard difficulty. On easy mode, you can start with extra things, start with extra materials and gold, make things cheaper, make your center thing you're defending have more health, which is the way you survive the waves. Enemy waves are a little smaller, and you start with an extra character. So you can modify the game if you're finding the standard difficulty too frustratingly difficult and you just want to have fun with the mechanics of the game, which I can assure you are amazing, then just go in here and pop some of these easier modifiers on here just so you can have more fun. Looks like, yeah, so the difficulty of this area, an abandoned mine hidden deep in the mountains, is only difficulty 1. Now, I used to be defending a town that was over here, and it had 4 sides open. Now this place I think has 3 open, so it's a little bit easier, and I think it serves as a stepping stone between the tutorial and the main town that you defend as part of the game. So let's go on in here. Let's just do standard difficulty, start. All right, so I've never seen this map before because this is a new map to help. Like I said, it's sort of bridging the gap between the tutorial map, which I think is out, but I don't think I play it. But it has only 2 open sides, and then there's walls on the other 2 sides. This one has 3. So this is the intermediary. I don't know if I can beat this on the first try or not. I've never played this map, so I don't know how well it's tuned. So this is what your starting area will look like. Let's just go through the UI really quickly. Very important. So let's start up here. These are our 3 characters. They are randomly generated. So we'll go on into their inventories in a second, but you can see during the planning phase, which is where we're in now, I can move them around freely. And then once we start the fight, they will have movement points that they can use each round to get around. Over here is where we would end the phase that we're on, which right now is the deployment phase, whenever we're ready. Here's, we're in the daytime. The monsters attack at night. We have 0 gold, which is used to purchase a lot of things. Build buildings, hire new heroes, buy equipment for your characters. It's a very important resource. But it's just as important as materials, which is something you need to build defenses like walls. You can even get things like catapults and ballistas and stuff later on once you've unlocked them. And you will also use materials for a couple other things like repairing and that kind of stuff. And then there's Tainted Essence. This is something you get during the night by slaying monsters. I believe you only get all of that Tainted Essence at the end of a wave. So if you get to wave 6 and die during it, you lose everything you got during wave 6. So just be aware of that. don't take it too hard on yourself. It's going to happen a lot. I think I played through that other town like 12 or 13 times before they changed how it works, and now I'm kind of reset to this new map here, but I think that my meta progression will carry over. So here we have 2 workers, and we'll talk about that in a second. Here's our journal, so we have to position our heroes, and then it tells us where the horde's coming from, which is this way. So you can see here, this purple stuff here with the dotted line, this is the like mist that they come under cover of. So I can't position my characters any further than this dark line here. And I don't want them any further than around here because the monsters will spawn in this misty area, and you want to be careful not to get swarmed on the turn that they all spawn in. What else do we have here? We have cancel the last movement, so there is an undo feature during the night when you're moving your units around. You don't want them to get, if you misclick somewhere, it lets you undo that, which is really, really nice. You can't undo combat actions, but that's pretty standard at this point. We have our city stash. So this is basically our group inventory from which we can drag and drop equipment from our characters into the stash or vice versa. We have the character sheet here, and they have a lot of stats and stuff. We'll go through this. There's a lot on this page, but do not worry. This is way more than you need to know at the beginning. It's way more than you need to know. Don't worry about it. And then down here we have settings. And then whichever hero you have selected, you have a quick little access to their stats here. So here we have 39 armor. The night is played in rounds. So you might, have a round where monsters spawn in, and then you move and use each of your characters until they're out of points, and then you end that round. The monsters take a turn, and then it's your turn. So during your turns, your characters each turn will get this amount of basically free health. So 39 armor means that if this character takes 39 damage between basically the end of her turn and her next turn, she won't take any actual real health damage. So having high armor means that you can just stand there and just take a bunch of damage and none of it's really going to hit their HP. Here's their HP. Their HP heals slowly, so you want to try to take very little damage during each night. You can see this character has 157 health, and she, Aneta, will heal 11 health per night. That is not a lot. That is not a lot. And if they hit 0, they're dead forever. And there are thresholds for wounds, and so the enemies also have these. So when she gets to 2/3 health, she will lose a movement point, and when she gets to 1/3 health, she will lose a movement point and an action point. Now that sucks because your action points are very important. Your action points don't have anything to do with movement, but losing a movement point does also suck. Losing action points means you lose the ability to defend yourself more, do more of your attacks. A lot of attacks are, big AoEs or even have movement tied to them, so losing action points is pretty brutal. So don't get down to 1/3 health if you can handle it. And then here's their mana. Again, mana actually does not regenerate every night all the way. This character only gets 5 mana regen each night. So if I use more than 5 mana, I will not start the next night with full mana. And a lot of abilities cost mana. It doesn't matter what class your characters are. Fighters, thieves, rogue kind of characters still have things that use mana, like this throwing dagger here. So be aware that everyone needs mana. Some characters need a lot of mana, but the characters that use the most mana are often very, very powerful, but just squishier and need to manage that mana in order to do good things. Down here is their weapon sets. You can actually swap between weapon sets, so each character can have 2. And it's a really great system because it doesn't cost anything to do so. So if I have a dagger and say something like a hand crossbow or something in this slot, I could have like a sword and a shield here. And on my turn, I could have her stab somebody with a dagger, move over here, swap to my sword, hit them with some ability that goes in a line, swap back to my dagger, get over here, get some kind of backstab, swap back to my sword and shield, and give myself armor, and then end the turn. It's great. You can swap back and forth as much as you like. It does make your turns a little bit complicated later on when you have a lot of gear and a lot of abilities and stuff, but very, very fun. And speaking of abilities, your abilities come from your weapons. So if I took away her dagger, she will not have any of these abilities. So the only thing really making her a roguish character is that she's wielding a dagger. Now, At level 1, which they all are right now, you can swap that stuff around freely, but as you level them and you start putting points into their attributes and things, it becomes a little less viable to swap their equipment to drastically different things. At this point in the game, I could easily go into her stats and say, you know what, she actually has better stats to be a wizard. And she started with a dagger, so I'll get the dagger off, give her, the wizard staff that somebody else has, and then start building her as a wizard. But later on down the path, if I've buffed her mana or mana regen, not given her any defenses or movement, I'm not going to swap her back to a rogue. It's not going to make a lot of sense, and she's going to struggle with the skills she has and using the dagger. So let's take a look at the character sheet here. So this is Aneta here. You can rename your characters. You can also customize them, which is really cool. I've taken to slowly creating characters that look like my friends, and then you can save that seed, like the code here, and then you can like bring your friends or yourself or whatever into the game, which is pretty fun. I think I have that on a spreadsheet somewhere. I have a character that looks like me. I should pull him in just for the purpose of this video. I might do that. This guy up here. This sad-looking guy up here actually kind of looks almost like me. I might change him over. So back in the character sheet here, we've got the health regen, the mana regen, action points per turn, movement points per turn. Here's her physical damage. She's getting an extra 13% to physical damage, an extra 0% to magic damage, an extra 0% to range damage. Be aware that ranged and physical damage are different things. They're color-coded, helps a little bit, but I had to wrap my head around the fact that shooting somebody with an arrow is not physical damage, it's range damage. So just keep that in mind. There are crossbows, bows, or short bows, long bows, hand crossbows, like big crossbows. So there's a variety of different types of range. There's swords, great swords, hammers, there's spears, there's daggers, all sorts of physical damage. And magic's my favorite. There's some really cool stuff like the druid set. I can't wait to show you guys the poison stuff if I can. And here's our crit chance. So she's got a chance of doing an additional damage. Down here is block. This is a flat amount of damage reduced from every attack. So if you have a block of 10 and somebody hits you for 20, it would only deal 10 damage, which would first come off of her armor, which is here, the 39. So having a combination of block and armor can be quite nice, but you can kind of just go the other way if you want. I mean, you could have a ton of block and not very much armor because you're blocking so much flat damage, it doesn't matter. Resistance negates a little bit of incoming damage, so this is 5%. Dodge is the chance of evading. There was a meta achievement for getting your dodge up to, I think you had to dodge like 20 attacks or something in a night. It's really hard to do. So I had a character that I would get up to I think I got them to like 70 or 75% dodge chance. It was insane. But, 1 out of every 4 hits still hit them, and it was starting to hurt. Here's her gear slots. So she has a helmet slot, a weapon, and a secondary, like an offhand, and then here's her, you can swap sets. So now this is her second weapon and her second offhand. There are two-handed weapons as well. There she's got bag slots. Some characters have like more bag slots, some have fewer, so she has 2. Here's her armor, here's her pants, and then here are her like trinkets. She does not have space for trinkets, probably because of this trait here, unadorned, -1 trinket slot. So she can't hold any trinkets, which is not great. Down here are her sets, her set abilities that she gets. So right now she has that dagger. So we're looking at these abilities. If I swap sets, she has nothing equipped. So she's got defend herself, punch, and vault over an object, and no like weapon abilities. Up here, we have her portrait, her name. Here are the traits. These are randomly assigned. So she has unadorned, so she loses a trinket slot. You tend to come in with like 1 negative and a couple good ones. I think I have upgrades that give me a better chance for good traits. She has martial artist. She does extra physical damage, extra critical chance, extra critical damage, and a little bit of resistance. So that's really cool. It's actually where she got some of these. I was wondering where she was getting some of this from. So she's got this bonus. So this is going to make her a good physical damage character. So we're going to want to keep her with something like a dagger. And she has genius. She gains 30% extra experience, which is actually kind of insane. So that's really, really cool. You can see her secondary attributes here. You can see anything that's not really important to see at a glance, which is this stuff here, is right here. So you can just get like a little bit of a like, does she have a bonus to stunning? Does she have, does she do extra damage with crits? So a critical damage from her is actually 165% of the base damage. Cool. Down here we have her lifetime stats. We've accomplished nothing right now. She doesn't have a best friend. And then here's where we can also go to the city stash, swap her equipment around as we find equipment. And here are the perks, which we don't have access to yet because we have not leveled up. So we'll take a look at this later on. You can see there's physical, magic, range stuff. There's like other random stuff as well in here that you can get. And you'll get, I think you get one perk point per level, and like there's other, you get to, there's a system by which you get points that can go into these kind of secondary stats and even some of these things. And those are rolled in kind of randomly, and then you can like re-roll them. I'll show you that when we get a level up, probably after the first night. So that's how the characters work. So let's just take a look at our other character here. We've got Salim, Aneta, and Thorndyke. Okay, so Salim is a marksman. He's got range damage. He's got a wooden pistol, which is pretty normal, I guess, for pistols in terms of medieval settings. Rusty dagger. So we got a medieval pistol. This person started with sturdy elven boots, which gives a small dodge chance and a small resistance to damage. Okay. He is a hero, extra health, mana, an extra action point, and an extra movement point. That is ridiculous. That is a fantastic roll in for that. One-armed. He has no... he has no left hand, so his offhand slot is closed because he does not have that arm. And you can see his model actually reflects that, which is super cool. Although he will change he's got it in his right hand here and his left hand here, but yeah, he is missing an arm over there, which is pretty interesting. So he's trapped using one-handed weapons, but he has extra action points, so I guess we'll have to give him two different one-handed weapons, like a crossbow, hand crossbow, and a pistol, and he could just go to town. He's also ferocious. He does 6% extra damage. Damage means anything, so he does an extra 6% damage with any kind of damage he's doing, whereas like Aneta had just physical damage right there, plus 9% physical damage. And we have Thorndyke. He is an archmage. He's got plus 9% magic damage, plus 8 mana, and plus 3 daily mana regen. Insomniac, minus 3 daily mana regen, and minus 6 daily health regen. So he's a little slow on the regen, so we don't want him to take damage. And Feyblood, extra range damage, extra dodge, and extra movement points. So that's strange. He's got range damage and magic. Now, that is something you can use. We could have him with his magic set here and then swap him over to like a crossbow or something like that if there was a reason. He starts with the Magic Orb +1, a common magic item. This gives him minus 15% max health, you can see right there. And he has a variety of skills. So why don't we talk about the different skills really quickly as well. So let's take a look from down here, because this is what you'll be looking at when you're playing. So when you're in a combat, so let's say the enemies are coming from down here, I would probably start him like back here in this little corner, this guy probably here, and her probably here-ish. That should keep them relatively safe. Facing doesn't matter in this game, by the way. So Thorndyke has, here's the action point cost, here's the mana cost. So he has an ability here called, what is this called? Infect. So this does 69 to 82 magic damage at range 1 through 8. It targets one unit, and it can be used 4 times per turn. So each ability that characters have, if you look down here, can only be used a certain number of times per turn. And then you have to use something else. So that's where having another weapon can come into play. So let's say you've got this guy, and you just want to use his basic pistol shot. You can only shoot that 4 times per turn. But he has 7 action points. So if we had a second pistol or a hand crossbow, we would have access to another basic attack that he could use probably 3 or 4 times. So we could spend no mana and do nothing special with him and just shoot basic shots a bunch of times if we had a second weapon. So back to Thorndyke here. I'm going to change him to me, I think. We also have, let me talk about isolation. So there are other multipliers. So this one has the isolation multiplier. If the enemy is not near anything else, it will do extra damage. So this attack is really good at picking off things that are like have run past and are alone over here. Just hit them with the infect and do a ton of extra damage. Here we have a putrid ball, which is an AoE. It targets 1, but it looks like up to +8 the ones around it. So it can target the 9 in a square. It does 87 to 102. This one costs 2 action points and 2 mana. This one does poison damage for 4 turns of 30 damage per turn. So interesting. So he's got a putrid ball that he throws at a group of enemies, and it slowly kills them. Here he has a Death Ray. This targets everything in that line, and he can use it twice per turn. It does a lot of damage, but this costs a lot of mana, 6 mana. And he only regenerates 5 per night, like in the day. So this, each turn he could use this twice and probably drain his entire mana pool and then have 5 mana for the next night, which would be terrible. And there are ways around that, which I will talk about. Here is his armor ability. So most everyone has one of these. It comes from your armor that you're wearing. Sometimes it's a dodge, sometimes it's actual armor. So this would give me plus 25 armor for 1 turn. So he has 34 health, armor points actually, and then you could gain 25 for 1 of your action points, and you can do it twice. You could give him 84 armor for a night, for a turn, and then monsters hitting him wouldn't be able to get through to his health, which is great. That can be really nice on characters, like you get like a big melee tank character with a shield, and they just go in and just armor up and just stand there and just take no damage. And we also have a basic punch. This is an unlimited skill, should be the only one you'll ever find. And this is just in case you have no other way to do anything. Say you're a ranged character and you can't get away from your enemies, so you can't hit them, or you don't have mana to cast anything, you've used up all your basic abilities, you can at least punch. It's not great, but sometimes this is actually pretty decent for finishing off low health enemies that are trying to get away or something like that, so they don't get another turn. So for the first night, there's no base building aspect, so I will have to show that off in episode 1. This will be in episode 0, by the way. This is the main objective, is right here, defending this magic circle. So this thing here will produce 1 point every night, and you need to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points to cast the spell. Now you can see these 2 disturbing red wizard guys here. You can actually upgrade so that there's more of these little wizardy guys, and each one adds more health to this thing. So it has 100 now. You can get each one's 50 health. So the enemies will try to get to this and kill it, but a lot of them will try to kill your heroes, and some of the faster ones might try to zip on by and get to this character. This looks like it's impassable. Jump over. Well, that's interesting. It's impassable hole terrain. I've never seen that on the other map before. Cool. We also have like a house here. This produces one of our workers. We should have another one. Yeah, here's our other house. And then we have our shop. You always start with the shop as well, so you could buy and sell items you find during the nights. But that's all we start with. We can build all sorts of cool stuff, which I can't wait to show you on the second day after we do the first waves of combat. You can build mines, you can build temples, you can build shops for specific things like armor shops or magic shops or bow shops or something like that. And you can build like a tavern and recruit more heroes and stuff like that. It's very cool. So let me end phase with everybody right here. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take his shield off, and I'm going to give that to Anetta, because she's the one that's going to be up in front. This will give her +3 block. So this will mean that she takes a flat 3 damage off of every attack she receives. She's really the only one I want at any level of melee, so she might as well hold that. I'm going to pause. I'm going to make this character into me just for fun. So I'll be right back. All right, everybody, here's me with a cool scar. That's what I look like. Let me rename here. Let's do Gracian. Let's try not to get ourselves killed. All right, so that's going to be me. All right, so I'm going to be the mage in the back here. Why I look like... that's okay, that's not what I look like. All right, so let's go ahead and end phase. Here they come. All right, so we're on to the first night. Now, I'm not going to probably get any gameplay done here. I'm just going to kind of show what's going on, and then we'll save this for the next episode when I actually get into beating up these zombies. Okay, so let's start looking at what's going on here. These are your basic zombie characters. You're going to see a ton of these in the game. These are crawlers. So, named after the incessant screeching of their claws against stone and metal, they are attracted to any source of magic like flies to corpses. The magic circle shines like a beacon to them. Luckily, they are quite stupid. And they are. They just kind of walk forward, attack the closest thing to them. They don't try to swarm you, get around behind you. They get in the way of each other. They're just stupid zombies. So you can see this crawler here. If you look up in the top right, you get a nice little info card for them. They do 23 to 28 damage. They have a 0% crit chance. They have 4 movement points. You can see that by hovering over them here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then they could attack next to them. So you have to be careful because that means they could get to here and then attack, you know, adjacent to them. It's got a 5% dodge chance, which is infuriating when they manage to dodge your attacks and you're counting on one of them dying. Has 100 health and no armor. And you can see they also have these little wounded things here. So at this threshold here, which looks like it's about 75, maybe 80% health, they actually lose a movement point and do less damage. And then down to here, they lose even more damage. They lose more movement points, and then they do less panic. Panic is something I haven't spoke about. The longer enemies are inside the walls of your city, so once they get past this point, your panic starts to go up. And, right here, city panic. And the lower this panic is at the end of the night, the better your rewards are, because the people feel like you did a good job and they give you more stuff. So try to make sure no enemies get past you into the gates, and if they do, try to keep it under this exclamation point right here. It's not the end of the world if it gets up further, but the earlier you can start doing that reliably, the better rewards you're going to get, and that'll help you kind of snowball into the later game with better rewards. So basic crawler. We have here, do we have the fast one? We don't have the fast one around here, but we do have one of these armored guys here. So the armored actually has 105 armor and then 50 health. So it doesn't have a lot of health, but the first 105 damage we do to him every turn is basically a free health shield that he gets, which sucks. So he doesn't do that much damage. He's actually slower. He's got a smaller chance to dodge, but he's got that 105 free health every turn. So if you start damaging an armored, you want to finish him off, because they'll just get that 105 back each turn. Now, the one nice counter to that is some attacks do more damage to armor. Some attacks bypass armor. So let's take a look here. So magic damage ignores 50%. So I'm looking right up here. Magic damage ignores 50% of the target's resistance. So if a unit has, say, 25% resistance to all damage types, magic damage will bypass part of that resistance. So keep that in mind. Now, physical damage deals 200% damage to armor. So armor doesn't block like swords and hammers very well. I don't know why they did that. It seems the opposite to me, but that's what the devs did. And then range damage is inaccurate, increasing the target's dodge the further they are. So be careful shooting things at maximum range with ranged weapons, because they're going to get a bonus to their dodge. So ranged characters are good against slow moving enemies that don't have a good dodge chance, like say this guy, because other enemies are going to get more and more dodge. So be careful with that. Range damage does a lot of times kind of feel like it gets the shaft there, but there are a lot of very powerful ranged weapons, like these rifles, two-handed rifles that just blast enemy zombies away in one hit. It's great until you miss, and then you're upset because you wasted a third of your action points in the turn doing nothing. So that is how the resistances and stuff work. Right now, we only have these two types of monsters, so that's going to be pretty easy. So we're going to call this episode here. So I'm going to leave you all on a cliffhanger. Come on back for the episode 1, where we'll actually start the gameplay, and I'll start mowing down zombies with my 3 characters I have here, including Gracian. And we'll defend the town, and then we'll see how far we can get on this first go at this new map that I've never seen before. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope you will come back to this series. The Last Spell is an incredibly fun game. It's highly addictive, and I recommend you give it a try. So come on back for the next episode. Consider liking and subscribing. I will see you then.